Hi, everybody. My name is Brandy Heinen with Powerhouse Learning, and I'm here with my friend, Chris Peterson, with the Chris-Leef General Agency in Kansas and locations also in Colorado. I know that you guys serve so many in our insurance industry.
Hey, Brandy, thanks for having me on the call. It's an honor and a pleasure. So Brandy is a great friend of mine, true friend, and she's somebody that's been a coach and a mentor for me over the past couple of years. We've worked together through a lot of things with our agency and with me personally, just as moving into my role as a president of our company, and I'm just so appreciative of all that you have done for me and for our company as well.
Oh, thanks, Chris. So, as we were talking about things, I was talking with some of your leadership team. You and I just said, hey, why don't we just get on a call, and we don't have to have all the answers today. We don't have to have it all figured out. I don't know that anybody has all of this figured out. Today is March 24th, so it's still relatively new. And yet there are some changes going on rapidly, and employers are having to make rapid, nimble changes if they're going to continue to survive through this market. So it's interesting to me that we've talked about change and talked about relationships and preached this for so many years. And now here we are in the middle of something that none of us could have anticipated to hit us so quickly. And of course, it all may go away, or it may be just a part of life for us for some time. And so I wanted to ask you, as a business owner, as who I esteem as a great knowledge base in our industry, how are you feeling as a CEO? Right? Ooh, human. And, I noticed you're also working from home. And so, how are you feeling about things? And would you talk about some of your thoughts as a CEO, everything that you've gone through, both the emotional side as well as the pragmatic side of you that I know helps make really solid business decisions? What action steps have you taken? And then I'd like to hear a little bit, Chris, and I know we've actually reached out to the leadership team to start filling you and I in with more and more of what your agents are saying and what they're wanting. So we may be doing more recordings like this, but what are you hearing from your agents out there? And then lastly, let's talk a little bit about the industry and what are you hearing from your carriers? So those are my 3 bullet points. Is there anything you want to wait, how long is this supposed to be?
Yeah.
Those are my 3.
I think, Brandy, that's a great place to start, just to kind of give you a little bit of information about me and kind of where I'm at and where our company's at. So it's been coming at us fast and furious. I think we all feel that, and I think we all know it. You think about just, what was it, Thursday, a week and a half ago from today, that, the NCAA started coming out and canceling tournaments and BA suspending games, so on and so forth. And so Thursday morning, for the most part, it was kind of business as usual and business as normal, so to speak. And now we're in a new normal. Whether that's just for a couple weeks or a couple months, or whether this is somewhat of our new normal going forward. And it is scary. I won't lie about that at all. It is scary. It's a challenging time, but I'll tell you, just based upon who I am as a person, I love the challenge. We met with our management team. I met with them Friday, what would be Friday the 13th. So just here a bit ago, I met with them, and at that point in time, we had 35% of our staff was able to work remotely, or was telecommuting in on a regular basis. We had 55% of our staff that was able to access our systems outside of the office. And that was scary. I won't lie. I walked into the office Friday morning and I went, man, we have to figure this out, and we have to figure this out now, right? I don't know. I didn't know Friday morning. I remember talking with people and going, is the government going to come in and put us on lockdown or suspend our business operations, on Monday? We didn't know if we'd have a full business day to get set up and going. And so I met with my IT team, met with the management team, and said, hey, let's figure this out. We got to figure out how we're going to mobilize and how we're going to move forward. And so as of today, 100%, actually as of yesterday, on Monday, 100% of our staff was working remotely or was capable of working remotely. I'm currently in the office today because there are a couple things like IT system backups that we couldn't handle remotely, and I'm going back to being a 16-year-old doing or helping with the mail in the mail room, but that's just part of, role and responsibility, right? But, so last week for us as a company was about mobilization. So it was about figuring out how are we going to deal with our new normal, our new environment, and how are we going to make sure that our business operation continue and can go forward. And I had a lot of conversations with agents last week, and I know that a number of them were working through the same processes. Some of them, to be fair, were ahead of us in that process because they already had a number of staff that were working remotely. And some of them, just being honest, were scared to death because, they didn't have systems or technology or capability to be able to work remotely. I had one agent tell me that they were going old school, so to speak. They had a fax machine at their house, and they were printing off paper and were taking it home. But, at the end of the day, they have a business that they have to run, and they got to do what they got to do. And whatever that looks like for them is what they had to make sure they were capable of handling. Today is our first day of being a stay-at-home order for our team, both in Kansas and Colorado. And so it's a different environment. I had a management meeting this morning, was talking with my team, and I told them, I said, look, last week is about mobilization. This week is about eliminating distractions. It's about adjusting to our new normal, right? Everybody's in a different environment. Everybody is working in a different place. I know for a fact if I were at home today, I'd have 3 boys that are either in the same room or are downstairs. We homeschool our boys, and so they'd be sitting there going, hey, Dad, when you're done, can we go play basketball? Yeah, right. And check it up on me, right? And so there's all those distractions and all those things that you're trying to adjust to. And so this week for us is trying to figure out, how do we normalize that? How do we get back to our regular kind of routine and make sure that we're providing the service that our agents expect and so on? Well, at the same time going, look, it's different, it's weird, and we just got to have fun with this. And so we're doing a lot of things as a company trying to figure out how we can market to our agents, how we can tell them the Chris-Leef story, because we understand that they're all trying to adjust to a new norm as well. And so why not just have a little bit of fun with this? We sent out a marketing flyer the other day that was pictures of our new coworkers. It was a number of our team's animals, whether it's cats or dogs. One of our staff members had some chickens. Yeah, so there's a chicken that was sitting on her back credenza. Yeah, Kim's chicken. We're trying to have fun with it. I think that's all we can do, right? I think that, we're still making sure that our customers and our agents know that we're here for them. We're here to help them in any way we can. We've got some new processes that are in place. We put out a flyer or an advertisement yesterday saying, hey, listen, we're now taking ACH online, and that's something we've been doing for a while, but that may be a good way for agents to be able to better conduct business with us. Trying to get online raters out there. We're trying to get more items built out on our agent portal, things that will give customers the tools that they need to better be able to work with us in whatever environment that is. I'll tell you, we still have a fax machine sitting on the back table. Good. And so if any agent needs to send in an old school fax, let's go. Let's get it done.
Of course, you know what? We can still take pictures on our phone. Scanner is a great little app, right? And so you can still do that and upload things. So there's a lot of cool stuff. What do you think? What do you hear about the state of the industry as a whole? And I know you're very connected in your position with what's happening with other general agents and wholesalers, as well as on the carrier side. And so and by the way, before you answer that question, you said something to me that I think is really, really important. And it's like one of those words that kind of drives me crazy is communication, because I hear it a lot when I work with agents and companies. Sure. And staff says, we don't communicate well. And it drives me crazy because I want to find out what does that really mean, right? I want to dig deeper. In this case, I'm going to use that word. I'm going to say communication is really key. Just even the fact that you and I thought about doing this interview or this recorded conversation yesterday, and we're on it today, and I'm going to plug it into my software, and you're going to send it out to your agents right away, right? Like, to be nimble,
Yep.
to communicate, just to share what's happening. I've got a couple of my independent agent retailers that are going to do something like this. They're going to do something like this with me, very similar. We're going to get on and talk a little bit about the state of things so that they can send it to their insureds. One of the things that we don't want to have happen as much as possible is for people to start canceling the coverage that they have.
Right.
Because we
sure.
can't predict what else could come. And, one of the things I was talking about with my agent was, what about some of the civil unrest that could come over extended quarantine? What happens to the psyche of our country, especially in some of the more urban areas? What is going to happen if all of a sudden some of the things that maybe our insureds would need coverage for would be triggered? We don't want our insureds canceling their coverage. And so, that was a very more of a serious note that I had with one of my agency owners today, which was, okay, we got to talk about accounting. We need to talk about payments. The fact that you're doing some of these cool creative things is awesome. How do I get my agency owners now to be able to send out communication to their customers about, hey, it's going to be okay. Hang in there. If at all possible, make sure your insurance payment is one of the payments you make. And so, Chris, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a great answer for it. We know that there's a lot of small businesses that are suffering. We know that there's a lot of small businesses, and I've got friends that have, they've had to close their doors, whether that be temporarily or whether that be in the long term. But at the end of the day, we also understand that our customers, whether, they've now have a vacant building, or whether, they've got a temporary closure of an operation, whether, it's a restaurant that's now doing delivery services, those insured, those customers, they still have some sort of exposure that they need coverage for. Right. And so I think our job and our responsibility is, make sure that our customers are aware of what we can and how we can help them. I'm hopeful, and in talking with some of our agents last week, I know that a lot of them are doing extra outreach to their customers. They're fielding phone calls left and right about business income and what coverage is provided there and what coverage isn't provided there. And, is this whole situation with COVID-19, is it covered under business income? Is it covered under an E&O policy or EPL with regards to layoffs, or all these different things? And I tell you that I've definitely heard from a number of our carriers. And I know that from a coverage, if you read the coverage forms for business income, majority of them, I personally am only aware of one that provides any coverage for, something like a government shutdown in the environment that we're currently in, or any communicable type diseases. I'm only aware of one carrier that provides any sort of coverage for that, but that doesn't mean that, the government isn't going to step in at some point in time and tell a carrier that they have to provide this coverage, or that certain carriers won't step up and provide coverage to help out those businesses that have had to close their doors. But, I know our agents are fielding those phone calls left and right. I know that our agents are very knowledgeable, and they understand that, that in general, business income is only triggered based upon direct physical loss to a property. And so, based upon reading those coverage forms, there isn't coverage for what's going on. But I think the hope is that, and the understanding is, we still have to protect our customers. We still have to protect our business owners, and hopefully, this whole thing will work out in a positive manner.
So, Chris, one of the things you were saying about communicating to the insured that's so important from independent agents is that we have all this great technology, just like this Zoom recording that we're on right now. I have the ability to just plug that into some software that I have, make the edits, and you'll be able to send that out right away. So I love that you're getting agents that are trying to be creative. I just want to say, if you are an independent agent and you are getting multiple phone calls over the same thing, is there a way for you to do a recording similar to this? Or if you want to know more about the software and technology I use, just reach out to me or reach out to Chris. But, what are some of the things that you can do to send out an audio file, letting people know what you're facing, what you're dealing with, some of the common Q&A type of things that you're fielding as an agency owner. That would be a wonderful thing to do right now. There's a lot of different ways to do that and send that communication.
I know a few of our agents are using things like YouTube, or they've got an FAQ on their website. I know, for example, we went out yesterday. We had a number of agents that were asking us common questions, whether it be about business income or whether it be about COVID-19, or whether it just be about the stay-at-home order and what that looks like and what it means for our business operation or their business operation. So we on our website, we created a section to provide agents with some FAQs and those kind of things. I think that's a great way to be able to communicate some of that out. I know internally we're doing a number of things which I think would potentially be useful for agents as well. We had a ton of corporate changes that have occurred here in the past week plus. And so I had a whole laundry list of things that I needed to deliver out to the staff, and so recorded a video yesterday. I stuck my ugly mug up on a camera and recorded a video, and I sent it out to the team with all those company updates. I think there's all sorts of things that agents can do, from, like you mentioned, Zoom meetings or video conference meetings when you can't go and meet a customer face to face, but you still need to have that personal contact to talk through coverage forms or coverages that they need. There's no reason you can't use the technology that's available and still be able to have that face-to-face type contact or that personal touch and outreach, which I know is so vitally important to our customers and the relationships that they have with our insureds.
We don't even think about FaceTime, but if you've got an iPhone, you can do FaceTime with your customers. And if you don't have an iPhone, then Facebook has the ability to also create video chat, video conversations, and some questions from your agency client. So last question, I suppose, is tell me about this transition to stay-at-home work, and what are some of your thoughts about productivity? So, easy enough to set up software through home computers. Please don't go out and buy all your employees laptops or rent those laptops if they've got home computers. There's a way to be able to put the right software, the right protective gear on those computers to protect you guys from, obviously, a cyber attack. That's the last thing we want right now. There's a way to do that, but beyond that, so what I'm finding is so many of my employees that are working from home are working from home. And yet there is a federal mandate that is coming out, and I just did an interview with Melinda yesterday and sent that out, and I think you may be sending it out to your agents too, but she really breaks down what's going to be happening with compensation with this federal mandate. So there's some information out there. You can reach out to me or this email address that Chris is going to give you. All right. What I'm hearing is my employees are actually working. They're productive. They've been fantastic. So how do you track and monitor some of the accountability measures moving forward? Chris, what are some of the thoughts that you have with your team?
Yeah, so I think there absolutely has to be a trust factor, right? I mean, we all hire the staffs and the teams that we have because we trust them, and so there's no question that I have faith and I have trust in my staff and my team to do the job that they've been given. I would tell you, one of the things my management team and I have chatted about is our team has been asking for the ability to be able to work from home more often. More of them have been asking for that more often, and to be able to do that on a more regular basis. And we have that opportunity for a lot of our staff members, but we haven't opened that opportunity up for all of them. Well, now they're all in that environment. So I know we're interested to see what the outcomes of that look like, and ultimately how that advances Chris-Leef into the future. I think Chris-Leef in the future in our work environment and how we're structured and set up is likely going to look very different. I would assume that a lot of our businesses are going to look very different when all of this is over, because how are you going to go to however many staff members you have and say, well, listen, you've been working from home for the past X number of weeks.
Now, come on back to the office.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, oh, by the way, you got to get dressed up every day again, right? no more PJs.
That's right. It's a real concern. It's a real concern that's been expressed to me by several people. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that first off, obviously just understanding trust factor. But then I think as well, I know that we as an agency are going to rely more heavily on some of the reporting. Typically we would, look at maybe check in on a workflow and just say, hey, somebody's got X number of tasks left, or they've got so many tasks that are a certain period old, whatever that might look like. And as long as they're within those standards, then you just don't worry about it. And those are the big things that you're really kind of checking into. And so I know that looking at and working with more reports now and having to manage from those a little bit more for a period of time just to make sure that our staff is doing okay. But I think the biggest thing is, you talked about it earlier, there's the code word communication factor. And so we've talked about as a management team that there is a higher expectation for doing a personal outreach, whether it be phone calls, whether it be Zoom meetings, whether it be whatever it is that works for your team, making sure that you're having regular contact with your staff to just make sure they're doing okay and how we can help them. Oftentimes when everybody's in the office, you'll walk by somebody's desk and they'll just, oh, hey, can you, look at this, or can you help me with that, or whatever the case might be. Well, that's not the case now, right? They're sitting at home, whether it is by themselves or whether it's with their dog or their family. Either way, they're sitting at home and they don't have the opportunity to just say, hey, can you help me, or can you answer this question real quick? So a lot of times they're not going to ask for that help, or they're not going to ask those questions because it's not convenient, right? They have to make a little bit more effort to make those things happen. And so I think then it becomes our responsibility to make sure that we're doing extra outreach to them and that we're doing those extra touches to just make sure our teams are okay. And what it is that we as a company or we as a management team can help them with to make sure they're successful in this quote unquote new normal.
Well, and remember, guys, through your phones, I know I'm an iPhone user, so here we are again. I'm not sure about an Android device, but I know through iPhone, I can easily dial and conference in at least 3 parties. So there are things right there on your keypad where, now this is not FaceTime, as I mentioned earlier, but you can easily add a call, pat somebody else in, add another call, and have an easy 3-way conference without using any other technology but your phone. So there are ways for you to stay in touch with your staff, even in remote locations, just to come in, use some of the video technology, of course, as well. Yeah, the work I do with you guys is remote, always has been. So, okay, yeah, that's right. And you were going to give everybody an email address. So for those of you that are listening in, you like what we're doing. Of course, we've talked some things that are task-oriented to help you with your business and your insureds, and also people-oriented. How do we handle the emotional side of all this? So if you like what we're talking about here and you have some ideas or suggestions or feedback for us, Chris, how do your agents get a hold of you through a special email? We want everyone to kind of filter in through a special email. If you need to speak with your underwriter, of course, you can do that directly.
Yeah, so that email address is info, I-N-F-O, at chris-leef.com. So that's CHRIS-LEEF.com. And we would absolutely love to have your feedback. Again, we're trying to do extra outreach and just provide extra information for our customers and have a little bit of fun during this time. So would love to have your feedback. Would love to know what it is that Chris-Leef can do to help you in your business.
Great. And then the last thing I was going to mention is that I have at least 2 other planned recorded calls with a couple of members of your team as well, right, Chris? So a couple of your underwriters and someone in marketing, right?
Yes, that's exactly correct. We definitely hope to be able to do a couple more of these, provide out some more information that'll be super helpful and useful for the customers for sure.
Okay. Thanks so much, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brandy.